Hey Em, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to have you on. I feel like I've known you for so long and I don't know much about you.
Right.
Right? Nico's here saying hello. So I think we've known each other. When did we meet? Like back
Had to be probably around 2014-ish time.
almost 10 years ago.
Phase times, yeah.
Phase one times.
Phase
yeah.
one times.
Wow, I remember that. I met like most of my friends there at Phase, and then it closed down, and then we had nowhere to go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know much about you, like, so I'm really excited to learn more and like hear your story. I know a little bit, and I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it.
Right.
But starting off, like, where are you from? Where were you raised? Where were you born?
So I'm originally from Southern Virginia, this place called Gloucester.
Gloucester.
Super small town.
Okay.
I grew up on a goat farm.
Really?
Right, yeah.
I love
So
goats.
we had goats, we had pigs, we had a couple horses, some chickens.
That's awesome.
We had a lot of dogs. So that's where I grew up, was in Gloucester, and then I moved to Maryland when I was about 17.
Oh wow, so you're from the area.
From the
I didn't
area.
know that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you're the only child, or do you
I
have
am.
siblings? You're the
Only child. Yeah.
Wow. And are your parents still alive?
No, actually,
Oh,
my
sorry.
mom passed away when I was about 23. My dad passed away during COVID in 2019.
Oh wow, my condolences.
Thank you. I
Wow.
appreciate that.
So you moved to Maryland when you were 17. I mean, I met you, and that was before you became a DC cop, right?
Yes.
Because I don't know what you were doing back then, but what I remember of you is that you were a DC cop,
Right.
and then you moved away. Well, you were with someone that I knew at the time when I was married, and we were like, I think we hung out a couple times.
Yeah,
And then you moved away, and then now you're back.
I am back.
So I want to like get into like the story from I guess becoming a cop. Like, why'd you want to become a cop?
Yeah, so honestly, the reason I remember going to Phase, I taught cosmetology for Paul Mitchell for a few years.
Oh wow.
And so I would go to Phase after work
Mhm.
and, of course, meet all these wonderful people. And I met a few girls who worked at MPD as a police officer. And they talked about how great it was and, a pension and this. And I never, ever imagined being a police officer in my entire life. It's not something.
So it's not something you wanted to like do when you grew
Definitely
up.
not. No, I was into like the tattoos and the piercings and the cool
Yeah.
hair. And I was like, did some protests and things,
Yeah.
So being a police officer was never something that I had in mind. But I did grow up in a military family, so
Okay.
I did like the structure and the discipline and things along those lines.
Who was in the military?
My dad was
Okay, what branch?
Army, 28 years.
No.
Yeah.
I was Air Force, so.
Okay.
28 years. Wow, that's a long
28
time.
years.
And you never wanted to join?
I did. I thought about it right out of high school, honestly. He was actually kind of against it because
Really?
he talked about how different it was than when he was in.
Right.
And that would have been around like 2006, so he was super against it at that time.
Right.
So I didn't go that route.
Especially the only child, he was probably like,
right.
don't do that.
He was like, please don't.
Yeah.
For him at 18, it was easy for him. It was a way out. He was
Right.
one of like 14 kids. So
14
14.
kids? And is he from Virginia too?
He's from Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi. Okay, and your mom?
My mom is from Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. Wow, Mississippi. 14 children.
14.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of his siblings that joined the military, or was he the only one?
Yes.
Oh,
So
no.
basically, all the boys did.
Wow.
But it was a way for them to get out
Right.
of small town Mississippi.
Right.
And he just knew that nowadays was different
Right.
than then, so he wasn't for it.
Right.
Went the opposite route.
But you had that structure, like, I mean,
I
ingrained
did.
in you from him.
I did,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I appreciated it, and I did like it. I do like
Right.
structure, and I did like the discipline of it. So that I appreciated. It just wasn't for me at the time.
Right. So you decided to join.
I did. So I
Okay.
decided to join the police force. I knew I wanted to get a job with a pension. So
Okay.
where I was, there weren't a lot of benefits, as in like healthcare, things like that. And
Yeah.
I was starting to think about retirement,
Mhm.
even though I was really young at the time, but still trying to think about the future.
Yeah.
And these girls talked it up. It's the place to be. You'll have so much fun. And then
There were a lot of people that were in the force. I remember that, like, we knew, or I even met a couple people, and I even tried to apply at the time
yeah.
to the academy, and I had a reckless driving ticket. within the past 3 years. Like I did everything, the obstacle course, the test, like everything.
Right.
And that was the reason why I couldn't get in.
Which doesn't make sense because now they'd probably take you if you had a record.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know. But
So
damn. So you joined the police force, and then what was like your first, I don't know, position? Like you're just like patrol. Like what did you think of it? Like once you had the uniform on and you're like out on the street.
Yeah, so it was completely different than what I expected it to be.
Really?
Of course, the two girls that got me into it left. So I was like, it couldn't have been that great because you guys are going other places. But right out of the academy, I got pulled to do undercover prostitution.
Really?
So I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that in DC?
It was intense. I did hotel stings, so not like working the streets.
Wow.
But we did that. You can only do 90-day details because people start to pick up on kind of who you are.
Yeah.
But I did that, and it was very eye-opening that this was real, and this was.
And it happens a lot in DC.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about DC though that I do like what they did in our task force was we more so go after the people that solicit and not the sex workers themselves.
Oh wow.
Which is good and I think helpful. So I did appreciate that.
That's crazy. Is that the only detail that you did? Like, so you did 90 days, and then what did you do?
So I did 90 days there. I went back to my district, and then I got mountain bike certified. So I was a bike cop for a while. Yeah.
Wow.
Which I loved, being able to get around the city on the bike and stay active.
You're exercising.
It's great. Yeah. You're getting paid to work out, which is awesome. I did that for a little while, and then went to our crime suppression unit, which was our drug unit, basically.
Okay. Which I'm sure is insane.
Yeah, it was. That was
like
the most
busy.
eye-opening for me because it was just so busy.
Wow.
And you see the same people. Like, we were literally arresting the same people.
Really?
All the time.
So what was the number one drug that you saw?
Number one definitely for us was PCP.
PCP? What's PCP again?
PCP is...
I know nothing about drugs.
How to describe what it is. It's like a hallucinogen, sort of. The way that we saw it was in a liquid form, right? And people would dip their cigarettes into it. What? And the effects was when you smoke it, you get super high. It kind of is otherworldly, but
like ecstasy or shrooms? Or?
No, not so euphoric.
Okay.
More so. It's hard to describe, but I know that like the side effects that people usually had was your body temperature increases rapidly. So a lot of people would take their clothes off, so they're naked.
That's how I feel before I get my period.
Maybe it's similar.
It's so hot.
You and PCP. And another, there's no pain, so a lot of people do it that way. It kind of blocks your pain receptors,
right?
Which can be dangerous. And your
sense of reality.
Heroin. Right.
Like heroin blocks the...
Oh, yeah. It's just null and void. So you're complete disassociated from what's actually going on.
Yeah.
A lot of people see really terrible things and kind of act out. So it's nothing that chills you out. It kind of hypes you up, if anything.
Wow. And did you see like more of the younger people in the community?
No. So it was actually older.
Really?
Right. My a big memory I have with a specific arrest is where I locked up this 80-year-old woman. 80? Yeah. It was 80
She doing PCP on the street?
She was selling heroin, actually.
Selling heroin?
Selling heroin. Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember locking her up, and she had like a walker, and I'm searching this lady, and people are starting to gather, and all they see, right, is me locking up this 80-year-old woman.
And they have no idea.
And they have no idea that we've been watching her sell heroin for the past hour.
What? She's so smart.
So smart.
She so when you book somebody for that, how long do they go in for?
That I don't know. We just take them down to our district, we process them, then they take them down to CCB, down to the courthourse, and they keep them. And whenever they're arraignment or anything, they get their court date.
Okay, so it's you just take them in and then hands off.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long were you on the force for?
5 years.
5 years. Wow. And then what was what made your decision? And I know we're speaking on the professional side, but I know on the love side, I think you were in a relationship during that time?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I was in a relationship as I was actually going through the police academy
Okay.
up until probably about a year before I left.
Okay, so a year before you left. And then what made the decision to get out of the force and then move? Where'd you move to?
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Because I remember I just saw, like, I used to see you around. And then after my divorce, like, I never saw you again kind of
Right.
thing. But we were, you were somebody I had and still have on social media.
Yeah.
So you'd pop up and then you'd be like, you moved and I'm like, oh, like, I hope she's well, but I knew nothing about you.
Right.
So what happened that like made you decide to make a big change? I mean, you were here your whole life.
I was. And I moved more so, and it was pretty drastic and pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something I had been thinking about for a while. I just had to get out of the city.
Yeah.
It was draining. My job was draining.
I bet.
I had gotten out of a relationship.
Yeah.
My friend group was changing. A lot of people moved away, and I just needed a change.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 28.
28. So you were like in the DMV your whole life.
I was.
And this was your first change.
Yeah.
And how did you feel like after you moved? Were you happy? Did you miss it back home? Did you want, because now you're back.
Right.
Yeah. So you're 28. How many years have gone by since you moved?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years. How old are you now?
34.
You're 34 now.
Yeah.
You moved 28. You came back 4 years ago?
I did. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like you just came back.
I know. I kind of like
months
snuck it in too. I just came back, didn't really tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I've been here. It'll be 5 years going on in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were there for 2 years. How did you like? I mean, it's the only place you've moved and lived other
Right.
than the DMV. Like, what do you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I had a really good time. My dad lived in Texas.
Oh, okay.
So I moved to kind of
Well, yeah, with the
spend
military.
more time with him too, and which we didn't, but that's fine.
Aw.
I enjoyed Texas. Texas was great. It was a huge culture shock.
Very different.
Actually, it's very different.
Very different.
The people were different.
Yeah.
I'm so used to
What part?
San Antonio.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's where our like boot camp is.
Yeah.
Lackland. So I've been to San Antonio a bunch. I've had the best like Mexican tacos.
Oh,
On
absolutely.
like a streetcar,
Absolutely.
like off the highway.
Oh yes, and they're
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. But I definitely missed home. I missed
Yeah.
the food. I missed the different cultures, and I always knew I would come back home.
Right.
I knew Texas wasn't
Like a
like
forever
forever
thing.
for me.
Right. But it's so cool you got to like experience a new
Right.
place,
which was great. It was good to kind of get out of here and get a
Yeah.
reset a little bit.
Yeah.
Go down there, met some great people, and
It's awesome.
yeah. it
And
was
then
good.
you moved back. Did you move back to Virginia, Maryland? I don't know where you're
I moved back to Maryland.
to Maryland. What part of Maryland?
I moved to Rockville.
Rockville. Oh, that's where my
Yeah.
good friend Jackie lives.
Right. I think we talked about King Farm.
Yeah.
I used to live right over there.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful area.
It's great. I love it.
It's so peaceful.
Yes.
Like that's what she loves about it. And she sends me pictures from like the sunsets all the time.
Oh, it's
and
amazing.
like, yeah. I really like it. And it's not far. You're not far from like where you grew up, right? You used to
No,
live
not
in
at all. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Right.
So you came back and then did you know what you were gonna do? Did you come with like a job lined up with a plan, or did you just say I want to move back? And then,
I did. So I knew I wanted to move back.
right.
I knew that I could always go back to MPD. Which
Oh, you could. You can.
I could. Yeah. It was so draining, though. I knew that that's not something that I wanted to do
Yeah.
for 30 years.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stress on your body and your mental health and
Yeah.
emotional. And I just knew that I saw so many people who are drained and unhappy.
Yeah.
I
Especially
didn't
in
want
this
to choose
area,
that.
it's things have changed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
things have changed a lot. But wait, so to backtrack a little bit, like you got really sick,
I did.
right? When you were in Texas or before
No.
Texas?
So it's crazy. I remember being in Texas. I found a lump, and I didn't really think anything of it.
Right.
It wasn't painful. It was small. It didn't pay it any attention really, and that was as soon as I moved to Texas, which was weird. So for a few years, I had it. Nothing was changed. I kind of didn't pay it any mind.
Oh, you didn't pay attention to it
I
for
didn't.
years?
For years.
Was it like on the breast or around?
It was inside, like inside the breast.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like right under. I could feel it. It was kind of like a pea size. And I decided I wanted to move back home. So I went online and I looked at some federal jobs and I found Capitol Police. So I just
Right.
applied. I went through the motions with that and got accepted. And that's what brought me back here. So I wanted to make sure I had some sort of job before I came back.
Wow.
I came back, I was only here for about a month, and then went to the academy in Georgia.
Oh, the academy's in Georgia?
Mm-hmm. It's at FLETC.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In Glencoe, which is...
How long? For how long?
3 months.
3 months.
3 months.
That's not bad.
No.
I didn't know that. But like you beat breast cancer.
I did. Yeah, so long story short, I guess.
I know there. So I have a couple of good friends
Right.
that like I feel like I'm about to turn 36 next week, but in this past year and a half, I've had several friends be diagnosed with breast cancer, and like obviously we're in that age, and it's it can happen anywhere, but like it's a paranoia that kind of builds up, and I just wanted to people that have been through that or any other like illness that they've overcame, like I want to touch on it because there's so many people that probably will watch that have been through or going through it, and like I just want to be like, yo, like you beat it, and that's so like I'm so happy that you beat it, and it must have been so tough, and like I would just want to know like if we don't have to like talk about it too much, but I just wanted to know like what did you do mentally to like make yourself come out of it like sane and stay strong, and especially like you said your parents aren't here anymore, like did you have like a good support system, or like what's your advice for someone that's going through it that can like maybe help them?
No, so I would definitely say the biggest part for me was the mental. I think your mental state has a ton to do with your physical health, and I think if you get your mind right and think positively, that it's going to help your body be able to do the things that it needed to do.
Right.
Like when I was diagnosed, it was crazy because I was back on the police force, right? So then I had health insurance, and I was like, well, let me just go get this checked out. Right. So I came back from Georgia. I went and got it checked out. Not right away. I kind of waited a little bit longer.
Why did you wait so long?
I didn't think it was anything. And honestly, I think part of me, because my mother passed away from breast cancer, that I know a part of me thought, I'm 32 years old. There's no way that I have breast cancer. Like I never questioned the fact that I would get it, because I knew that I had a high percentage probably to get it, but I never thought so young. So I didn't really pay attention to it. I finished the academy. I went through FTO. I did all that, and finally, I was like, "Let me go get it."
Whoops.
Yeah, let me go get this checked. So I did, and one thing I would say for people is you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Because nobody's advocating for you.
No, and doctors will be like, "No, you're fine. Like it's anxiety or it's tissue or whatever."
Absolutely, and then people die. Yeah. Because they're not getting the care that they should be, or people are afraid to speak up or don't really know how, and then are misdiagnosed or not diagnosed correctly, and bad things happen. And luckily I went in and got checked. The doctor that I had at the time, she was convinced that it wasn't anything, that it was just a cyst, this, that, and the other. And I tried to explain to her that, my mom had passed from breast cancer under 50. So
under 50?
Mm-hmm. Well, she was 50 at the time.
Oh my gosh.
So then I had an aunt that also passed away from breast cancer on my dad's side, and she was in her 40s. So explaining that to them, they take it a little more seriously, but still wasn't that serious. So I had a mammogram. Mammogram showed us something there, still thought it was just a cyst. And she did a sonogram. Sonogram was like, it looks different, but I think you're fine. And I was like, well, it's gotten bigger. I've had it for years. I've had a family history of breast cancer. Is there anything else we should do or can do? And she at the time was like, well, let's just monitor. And then she was like, well, because they were so young, why don't we do a biopsy? I don't think it's anything, but let's just do it anyway.
The biopsy is the only thing that will really
tell,
right?
Yeah. I think sometimes you can probably tell through like a sonogram or imaging, but if you can't, then what? You know. So we did the biopsy. It was crazy because I have Kaiser, right? So I got my results before my doctor. So I remember going onto my phone, checking my results, convincing myself, that it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I look at the results and it's these words that I don't recognize. I'm like, well, it doesn't say negative. So let me Google what these words
Oh
are.
my gosh.
So I did, and it came up with cancer and all these things, and I was like, this can't be real. So I immediately called my aunt and went over there, and I was with my partner at the time. She was there. Of course, she's super upset. She's like, oh my God, you're gonna die. And I'm like, why don't we just take a step back for a second, you know? And everything happens very quickly. By the time you're diagnosed, my care team called me the next day. I had doctor's appointments, and then I got my report in, and then all of these things. And I remember meeting with my team and my doctor, and I had to record it because I was by myself. And I remember thinking, I'm not processing everything that's going on. I'm not even going to be able to remember what she's talking about.
Right.
So I was diagnosed with stage 2 with triple negative lobular breast cancer, which is super aggressive and hard to detect.
Oh, wow.
So I went and got an MRI, found out that I had more than this, just that tumor. I had a few others.
Was it just one breast or
just one?
Both? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just one. Thank God it hadn't spread anywhere else in my body at the time.
Which is crazy because you waited years.
Like
usually they say that, you know, you have to go in right away because if not, it can spread.
Right. And my body did something really great for me. My doctor was never convinced that I had the lump for a while because she was like, if you had this for years, you'd be dead. And I was like, well, I'm telling you, I felt it. But when I went in and when I had surgery, what my body did is actually the big tumor that I had that I could feel, my body encapsulated it with like some sort of scar tissue. So it prevented it from growing as fast as it could have.
Wow.
Which is really amazing, and I got really lucky with that.
Maybe that's your mom looking out for you.
Right, definitely.
I believe in all of that, like
Absolutely.
100%.
Somebody was definitely looking out for sure.
Wow.
And
then during that time, imagine that you let the Capitol Police know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do they do when you have to go through treatment? Do they like?
So my job was actually was amazing. The people in my job was amazing. Nice. I met really good people when I worked there, and they were great to me. They helped me out a lot with everything that I was going through.
Nice.
So I can't be thankful enough for everything some of those people did.
Wow.
For me, support-wise.
Fantastic. But you couldn't go into work. You were, right? Like you were completely off until...
Right. I was off for a while, and I kind of tried to work at home if I could.
Right.
And then I was out at the academy. They put me out at the academy.
Okay.
So I wasn't out the hill, but I could instruct, and I could help with admin or things like that.
Wow.
Because the hardest thing for me was to be at home with myself.
Right.
With kind of everything you're going through.
Did you live with your partner at the time? Or
I
you
did.
Were just, okay. Yeah. So at least like you had support.
I did.
Like
I had support, alone. Which was great. I felt bad for her at the time too because she was going through the fire academy at the time, so she had things that she was working through. Right. And then I was going through this, so she was taking care of me, and it was hard for sure, but. And
how was your, like, so, I mean, I can't imagine what you went through, right? But, like, how did you stay so strong mentally? Like, what did you do? Did you, like, go to therapy, or what helped you get through it all?
Right.
You know?
I think for myself, I definitely went into, like, a fight or flight mode a little bit. Right. And I just was so focused on getting through. And I knew that there's so much more that I wanted to do, and this wasn't going to be it. Like
you were telling yourself, like, I'm going to beat this.
Absolutely.
And just staying positive.
And you have to, because the moment you tell yourself that you're going to die, you're going to die. Because your mind and your body feed off of that.
Right. And you're giving up. Like
you're giving up. And I truly believe that mental game is a big part of it.
It's everything.
It's everything. And there are days, of course, you're going to have days that are bad. And you're going to want to get up. And you're going to feel like shit. And you're not going to want to keep going. But I had told myself that this wasn't going to be it for me. Yeah. And I'm competitive, especially even with myself. So I knew I had to get through it. It's
amazing. Yeah. Good for you. You say you're competitive. Did you like play sports growing up?
I did.
Oh, you did? What'd you play?
Softball.
Me too.
Of course.
When people ask, like, what'd you play? I'm like, just guess. Like, lesbian softball.
Yeah, exactly.
Goes together. That's awesome. So, well, you beat it. How long did it take from like being diagnosed to being like you're cancer free?
So in all total, probably about 2 years.
Dude, that's quick.
It's quick.
That's really quick.
They never tell you, and now that I've learned that they don't tell you that you're cancer free anymore.
Oh, they don't?
No, which I kind of take both ways. Like I think that's can be bad mentally for some people.
Right.
To kind of tell people that because now you're living with this fear that it can always come back.
Right.
But they tell you once you hit that 5-year mark, your odds of getting cancer again are the same as everybody else's.
Wow. And it's been
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's a couple more.
So 3 more years down, and we're good.
But I mean, I feel like if you have that mentality, like, you know, and you beat like the odds, like you waited a couple years, it didn't grow, like, I think you're gonna be great.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It was great. I even beat the odds of. I remember I talked to 2 women in a group when I was diagnosed. Same day, same cancer. One woman was 28, the other was 36, and both died.
They both passed.
They did. So I'm very thankful and I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Do you think that you're living life differently now?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Like, how so?
I'm more so not so concerned with the small things. And I'm traveling more and I'm doing the things that I wanted to do because you really never know.
Yeah.
You really never know. It could be one day you're fine, the next day you're sick, and that's it.
Yeah.
So take advantage of the now, be in the present. Appreciate people more, like your friends, but really love yourself and give yourself some grace and understanding and allow yourself to just grow and be good and be happy.
Yeah. I feel like that's so hard. Like, it's like
very
a work
hard.
in progress every single day.
Absolutely.
Because you forget about yourself, you know, you get so like wrapped up into like everyday life and you forget to love yourself. Like, I think loving yourself is the hardest thing.
Absolutely. And you have to be your number one, you know, like it's you. You're with you all the time. And if you can't be happy, I mean, you sure aren't
gonna make anyone else happy. Whether friends, family, relationships.
Absolutely.
And if you can't help yourself, like, I always worry about like other people making them happy, and then my mom always told me like it's like being on an airplane and like the oxygen comes down and they tell you like put the oxygen on yourself first. And she's like, if you can't, you know, if you're not good, like you can't make anyone, you can't help anybody else. Absolutely. You have to help yourself first and make sure that you're solid. Yeah. Which is hard to do.
It's hard to do. I think we use it as a distraction tool.
Totally.
To let's not worry about me because I'm so worried about everybody else.
Yeah. Like it's avoidance.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people do it.
And this is why, like, I just learned so much about you, right? Like, in just a short period of time. And I just want to highlight people's stories because it's just, you see somebody out and it's just like being kind to people is number one because you have no idea what they're going through or what they've been through. So I appreciate you for, like, sharing that story.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure it's not easy. But would you say that you are happy right now? Like, that you're in a good place? Or are you dating?
I am dating.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy. I am working on it. I think happy and being happy is a constant battle. There's a lot of growth, and I'm constantly growing.
That's amazing.
Dealing with things, you know, learning not to disassociate so much or avoid. So it's an up and down, but
well, right now you said you're not drinking for a couple weeks,
I'm not,
right? Yeah. Which is great. I think everyone should do like a reset. Do you do it annually or just random?
I do it randomly.
Okay.
If I know I'm feeling pretty low, alcohol has always been used for me for an escape. I've always used it as a coping mechanism. So I think
most people do.
Yeah, absolutely. I so badly want to be one of those people that can just go out and have a drink,
like one drink,
and go home. And that's just not me, and I can't use it for that reason anymore.
Right.
So I feel a lot more clear-headed without it.
Well, you're self-aware, which is great.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people aren't self-aware, so I've used it before. Like I explained it on my first episode. Like I've used it before for like, you know, to numb the pain.
Yeah.
Right. Well, mentally and physically, which a lot of people do. I mean, I wish I hated the taste of it, but like I like it. Yeah. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I admire people that stop drinking for a while.
That's the thing too. I enjoy the taste of alcohol. I like cocktails. I like going to cocktail bars. I like those things. But if it's not helping me in any sort of way, if there's no pros or positives for it, then why am I doing it?
Yeah.
You know? So,
totally. Yeah. And a lot of people, it's becoming more of like a more popular people that are becoming sober.
It is
now way more than before.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is great.
Before it was kind of looked down on, or what could you do? You couldn't go out. You couldn't do anything.
Especially DC, like, gosh, remember back then? Like,
it
was every single day.
Every day.
Easily. Every day going out and drinking, and it's just like, oh my God. They advertise it. It's everywhere.
Absolutely.
You know? And now it's just like, I don't know. As I'm getting older and as the people around me are getting older, like, I enjoy it, but like I enjoy being home, like being a homebody way more and just like hanging out. Yeah. But once in a while I want to go out and have a good time.
Absolutely. I still want to have fun. I still want to go out, and I need to know that I don't need alcohol to do that.
For sure. That's amazing. So what is in the future for you? Like what do you see in your future, like in the next 10 years? Like where do you want to be? You've moved once, do you think you're gonna move again?
Oh man, I don't know. I try not to think so far ahead these days.
You're like day to day.
I just want to be in the present. I think sometimes we get so far ahead that we forget to appreciate the now.
It's so true.
You know, so I look at it as we always look forward to something. Why can't we appreciate what we're doing?
Like the moment.
The moment. Because the moments are great. Yep. And you can really miss some good moments. And granted, I'm not good with this. I'm just starting. Yeah. I've always been a planner in the future, but I'm now really trying to just appreciate the now. Yeah. But 10 years, who knows? I love to travel. Maybe I'll move overseas. I don't know.
You're open to anything.
I'm open to anything that life brings me at this point.
Well, what's the next trip you have planned that you told me about?
I'm going to Portugal.
Amazing.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I are going there.
Where are you going in Portugal?
So we're flying into Lisbon. Okay. And then we're going to do Lisbon for a few days and then go to Madeira.
Yeah, I heard such great things about that place.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
They say it's like Europe's Hawaii. So
yeah.
It's supposed to be really
you gotta
nice.
let me know how that is.
Absolutely. And then we're going to Porto for a music festival. And then we'll be back.
It's the best food I've ever had.
In Porto?
Porto.
Seafood. Is that what they're known for?
The risotto with the seafood risotto. Oh my gosh. Like everywhere I went, I'd order it. Like, because my mom went on her retirement trip and she went first. And then my grandma and I went out and met her. And she had already been to Porto. But we went back because I was like, I need to go because of how she spoke highly about it. And she said it was the best food in Europe. And I was like, really? Like, there's no way. And we went and wow, every restaurant, like I just kept ordering that, honestly. I tried like different places, but that was so good that I had to like have it everywhere. And it's not expensive. And it's just like the people are so wonderful. Right. They're so nice. And I loved it. Like that, I think I would move there. In Europe.
I might not come back.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, maybe you won't come back.
Maybe that'll be my 10-year plan.
Yeah. You know? But you'll have to tell everyone there said that we should go to, what is it, Madeira?
I think so.
Madeira, it's something like that.
You're probably saying it the right
way. Yeah. Like you have to go there because it's just absolutely stunning. So you gotta let me know how it is.
I absolutely will.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Well, thanks so much for joining. Like I'm so glad you moved back. I'm so glad we reconnected. Like I want to hang out with you more and
absolutely.
And just I don't know. I feel like we're at a different phase now than before at phase 1.
Yes.
I didn't really get to know you all that well, but I feel like now that we reconnected and you come out to the event sometimes and I appreciate that. And I'm so happy that you came out on the other side that a lot of people don't, you know.
I appreciate it.
I wish the best for you and your happiness.
Thank you.
You
too. I think everyone deserves to be happy.
Yeah.
These days, for sure.
Well, to close off, what is one piece of advice that you have for people that you think that you've learned throughout your life thus far? Which I think you've said it a bunch already.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think you want people to know or remember?
Just be kind to yourself. Like really take the time to treat yourself nice.
With
kindness. We're so nice to other people, but we forget about us. And you have to be kind to yourself. Absolutely.
You really do. That just reminded me of I went to like this astrology read. I don't know if it was like astrology, but it was something like that. Mm-hmm. And the lady had mentioned, she was like, every time that you just always like bring out your inner child and think of like your little Natasha, your little Emily, like at like 6, 7 years old, and like, would you do that to that girl?
Yeah.
Or like think of like how you treat yourself. Would you treat her like that?
Yeah.
And it's like thinking of that is like wow, it's like mind blowing. Like because a lot of people treat themselves badly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or you give all of yourself to someone else. You forget to take care of you.
Just give yourself grace.
Absolutely.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining.
much.
Wish you the best.
Thank you. You as well.
All right.